Hi all, let's look at another amazing game of VIshy Anand from the 2017 World Rapid Championship. Here he is white against Alexander Grischuk, who as we know is a candidate in 2018, playing in the World Candidates, so a super strong grandmaster. E4 from VIshy, E5 from Alexander, knight F3, knight C6, we have Royal Pairs, Berlin defense, D3, bishop C5, knight BD2, D6, C3, both sides castle, A6, bishop takes C6, so giving up that light square bishop, B takes, and now D4, ED, CD, bishop B6, Queen C2, hitting the C6 pawn. We have now C5, which seems to hem in this bishop. Now here after D5, you can see that white's kind of comfortable if that bishop can be kept shut out of the game. In particular, rook E8, B3. So this bishop is finding this diagonal useful potentially. Bishop B2, bishop H5, rook A E1, bishop G6, which sets up a tactic. I wonder if you can spot it. If, for example, I played H3, what would you play in this position with black? If I gave you 5 seconds. Okay, knight takes D5. Yeah, there's that pin to be worried about. So actually here, VIshy actually does something very interesting. He actually just takes off this knight, giving up the dark square bishop now. So he's actually given Grischuk the 2 bishops. It's the 2 bishops against the 2 knights. A classic scenario. But look at this bishop in particular. The dark square bishop in particular doesn't seem that happy in this pawn structure. It's a bit of a prisoner in its own pawn structure here. Queen D3, H6, rook E3. Now if white gets on with things, well, he wants to play maybe for that strategic break, not here, but one day for E5. So it seems white's shuffling here with that intention of playing for E5 one day. Now we have this move which seems a bit double-edged to say the least, G5, as though it could hurt black as well as white, creating more weaknesses here. But if we look at this position, if King H8, white can get out of the way to unpin the pawn and play for E5. This position is very, very dangerous here. For example, if rook takes, then there's knight takes F7 check, winning that rook over there. That's going to be a big advantage. So this is very, very dangerous position. And if here then knight C6 and that bishop's being attacked and there's a fault there, it's all very nasty looking. So you can understand that black's feeling a bit scared about the E5 break. So G5, we have Queen E2, King G7. Now actually E5 isn't played, but Rook D1 now. Queen G6, some shuffling, King G2, and now G4, another committal move. Pawns don't go backwards from Grischuk. Knight H4, Queen G5. So the bishop pair, they don't seem to be that effective in this position. It's the pawn structure which really slows down the action in chess. And here the bishops are not happy, particularly happy in this structure. And then we have F4, G takes, and you can see that black's pawns have basically been sliced up. Isolated pawns around. Queen takes, Queen F6, Queen E2, Queen G5. And now this F file is ripe for usage. King G8, Knight F5. And we have rook takes E4. This is getting a bit desperate, this position. In fact, white has a killer move here he didn't play. VIshy played another strong move, which is winning anyway. But H4 is a real killer move. Kind of winning the queen, basically. I mean, or winning material. Where does the yeah, it just seems a hopeless position anyway. But this is strong as well. Knight takes, and then rook takes. Very, very strong position for white. Bishop takes, queen takes. White's dominating the position here. It's this bishop that's really miserable and shut out of the game in this position. It's just pure domination here. King F8, rook E1, taking that foal, stopping any rook E8, threatening Queen E7 check. Queen F6 at least parrying Queen E7. Rook E2 as though the F file is going to be handy now. Bishop B6. The bishop's really not doing anything, and the pawns can come up a bit now. Rook F2, Queen G6. Rook f5 with the threat of rook g5 pinning the queen. King f8, h5, the pawns go up, and this one goes up. Yeah, it's very, very difficult here. Rook e8, queen f3, keeping the pressure on. King g8, king h3, rook e1, queen f4, king f8, queen g5, queen h8, rook f3, queen g7. White just takes the queens off. This ending's very, very nice for white. Knight e3 protecting the pawn. The check, king g4. Opening up the bishop at the cost of a pawn check. That pawn's just taken. Thanks very much. Check. Rook g3, rook c1. Now g6. Yeah, g7's on the cards now. Giving up the c4 pawn, but the king is getting very aggressive. Bishop d4, and now can you see the final move of the game here? Well, a lot of things are probably winning, but okay, rook g4, just pinning that bishop. And here, Grischuk resigned. So I thought this was an interesting game. White giving up voluntarily the light square bishop, then later the dark square bishop. And that scenario, the two bishops, it depends if one of them's really bad in the pawn structure. It can be worth having the two knights. And structurally, because of the e5 break hanging over black's head, like the sword of Damocles, you know, I think g5 was a bit, yeah, it was a bit desperate. Later, because that pawn was taken off, we have isolated pawns there and the f-file ripe, and white's just having a very advantageous endgame later. So I thought a very interesting control game, especially because it's considering a rapid time control, very positional, and shows really, you know, Vishy's an absolute killer at rapid chess. That's what we've seen from the World Rapid and the recent Town Memorial in 2018 as well. Okay, comments, questions, likes, shares appreciated. Thanks very much.